Well, thank you for that introduction. First of all, I give honor to Christ, who's the head of my life, and I give honor to my wife, who I refer to as my queen. And I give honor to Dr. Jacob, Dr. Hines, just to everybody in your respectable places. And to all of the young people today. You know, when I look across the audience, I see the future of this great United States of America. You know, and when I think about how my journey started, you know, I go back to maybe tell you a little bit about how we started. I met my wife in 1981. And we got married in 1983. We opened up, this is it in 1983. And we moved on. I think my father transitioned, you know, in 81, 82. And I got a little money when he transitioned, and you know, I wanted to go back into the restaurant business, which my first restaurant was in 1976, and it was called Butch's Slide-In Barbecue. And I ended up selling it and moving on. And, you know, again, after I met my wife, I wanted to go back into the restaurant business again, so I started This Is It, you know, and that was a journey. I spent all the money that I had, and I could never make it work. You know, when we came up with the name back in the early '80s, maybe some of y'all might remember the advertising "Coke is it." You know. And so I say, maybe if I just drop the Coke and put this there, I'll just ride it as long as I can. You know, so that's how, you know, we came up with the name, This Is It. But, you know, we would have some good days and some bad days, but I didn't have enough resources, you know, to actually sustain and do what I needed to do. And I think about 1986, you know, my wife was already a Christian and I wasn't. But in 1986, she gave her life to the Lord from a different perspective, you know, meaning, you know, the Bible talks about having a form of godliness and denying the power thereof. So she received the whole thing, you know, and you know, I'm not a saved person. I didn't want to go that route, but in 1987, after seeing her, I said, well, you know, I just got to try this. I done tried everything else. I guess I got to try this Jesus, you know, and I did everything that I thought was right, trying to clean my life up so I could, you know, get the whole thing, you know. And I finally, in 1987, you know, the Lord filled me with the Holy Ghost with the evidence of speaking in tongues as the Spirit of God gave utterance, just like the Bible say. You know, so we went on, and later on, in 1987, when I think I first started to hear from God. And the Lord told me, say, you got to keep your name right. You got to get your name right. I had not long, maybe a year, 2 years, maybe, I think, you know, I had filed bankruptcy. And my credit was all messed up. My name was messed up. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move the business forward. I couldn't borrow money. And the Lord told me, said that I had to keep my name right. And a lot of people think that I'm crazy when I say this, but I never forget that this guy that I knew, his name was Ali Pat. He was a marketing guy back in the 80s and 90s. He was the first black African American to have a television show in Atlanta. And his name was Ali Pat. And he just took a liking for us in the business. And he wanted us to have a decent car to ride around in. You know, so he took me to a Cadillac dealership out of, you know, not far from here, right down the street. It used to be Stroh's Cadillac. And I say, you know, I told him, I say, Pat, I can't buy a car. I know I can't buy a car because my name all messed up. He said, come on and go with me. So we went inside the dealership, and I went in and talked to the man and filled out the paperwork. He said, well, just take a look around the lot and see what you would like to have. I looked around the lot and I saw this yellow Cadillac, and I said, boy, you know, I think Diana looked good in that. But I knew I couldn't buy it. So we continued on, and I went back in, and, you know, the man told me, he said, Mr. Anthony, he said, you know, you can buy pretty much any car out here you want. And you really don't have to put no money down, and your payments will be a little less than what you say you could pay. And I say, what? You know, it was kind of like a shocker. And Ali Pat, I knew Ali Pat, he knew everybody in Atlanta that was about anything, you know. And I say, well, I wonder what Ali Pat done. He said, well, you know, you could just go ahead on and take the car home and sign the papers and everything will be okay. And I say, you know, I can't take this car home because I knew I had filed bankruptcy and I had just got saved, you know, and I couldn't do nothing wrong. You know, I was scared to take the car home because I knew God was watching me. you know, so I didn't take the car home. And Ali Pat, he cursed me out all the way back to Ben Hill. He almost put me out on the interstate, and, you know, we just had a time. And one thing led to another, but I wouldn't take the car because I thought something wrong. He had done something wrong. And so later on in the week, or the first part of the next week, I told my wife, I said, let's just go back out there and see if the car is still there. We went out there, and the car was still there. I went inside, and the general manager was upset. People wanted to buy the car, and the car was just there. I hadn't signed nothing, didn't leave no money or anything. And I went in the bathroom, and I heard that little quiet, still voice. The Lord say, the car is yours. And so, you know, I went back out, I signed the papers, and Diane took the car on back home, and I went on back to work. But when I was going back to work, I remember the Lord said he went in the credit bureau and straightened my name up. He said, because of your journey, you know, he says, your responsibility to keep your name right from this day forward. You know, and I knew that, you know, something had to happen that was out of the ordinary. You know, that was the first time that I had a BAM in my life. How many of y'all know what BAM is? Can somebody tell me what BAM is? Don't nobody know what BAM means? Blessings and miracles. You know, that's what had happened to me. You know, so I went on and I did all I could do to keep my name right. I promised the Lord that I would keep my name right, and one thing led to another. Back then, banks wouldn't loan money to restaurants and nightclubs. But God said he was going to change that for me. And he did just that. As time went on, I was able to borrow money from the bank. I had bought had leased a building. And God, didn't really think I could get the building. It was a Waffle House that sat on top of the hill at I-285 and Washington Road. And that Waffle House didn't want to lease it, they wanted to sell it. And I went out to the Waffle House corporate office and I talked to the guy that was over the real estate, and I just really pleaded my case with him and asked him to give me a chance. And he gave me an opportunity. He said, I'm going to give you 3 years and you got to be able to come up with the money to buy this building, or you're going to have to move out. So in 3 years, I was able to come up with the money. I got a loan from Citizen Trust Bank for $150,000 to buy the building. And that was the first piece of real estate that God allowed me to acquire. As time went on, God put different things in my spirit about owning the dirt. Later on, God took me to a scripture in the Bible, Deuteronomy 1:8. It says, go and possess the land which I have set before you. And that started to be one of the things that I focused on. Not just running the restaurant, but actually owning the dirt that the building sat on. As part of my, legacy for my children, for my family. In actuality, I ended up having, 2 businesses, owning the dirt and the restaurant. So one thing led to another, and as my name got stronger, I would always, again, pay my bills. I would always be sure that my name was right. One thing that God put in my spirit back then was that your name has to be good enough to be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Then your name has to be good enough to do business amongst men you see every day. Because when you go to do business and when you go to different places, before you get there, your name is already there. You got one name and it's going to follow you all the way to your grave. So one thing I tell you is to keep up with your name. Do the right thing. The Bible says a good name is more valuable than fine silver and gold. So your name is very important. Few people that I consult today that want to go in business, I ask them, what's their credit score? What's your name like? If your name ain't right, take that money and get your name right first and then go in business. Because your name got to be, have some substance to it. And then after that, again, everything starts with your name. Being successful. You got to really understand the importance of building a work ethic. I raised my children by giving them, I think, $20 if they worked 10 hours, until they got about 16 years old. I know nobody don't want to hear that today. But they would work every day on the weekends, and I would give them their little money, if they hit that 10-hour mark. Just to try to build a work ethic in them. It's important to work. It's important to have a mindset to work, to build whatever it is you attempting to do. If you're going to school, you got to work hard. You got to study. You got to do what it takes to go to the next level. And it all starts with work. Your whole heart needs to be in your work. Sustainable success comes after you have been through something. You know, it don't just happen. It takes time. After you done been through the fire, after you done been tested, after you done proved that you're gonna just stay the course. Entrepreneur in the Hebrew means a man of faith, a risk taker. You know, a lot of people want to be in business, but they don't want to take a risk. You know, one thing about being in business is a lot of risks involved. You know, and your whole family has to be involved. You know, you can't just go out, a man can't just go out and go in business, or a woman can't just go out and go in business without the spouse knowing and y'all having a plan together of how it's going to work, because it affects everybody in the household. You know, if it's, because it's going to be some tough days. It's going to be some struggling days. You know, even when you get to a certain level, you still in the struggle. So sustainable success. There's a price to pay for sustainable success. You know, you really got to be willing to go through something. Never give up on your vision. Never give up on God. You can lose some rounds, but you can still win the fight. But you got to stay in the boat. You got to stay the course. You know, it's going to be hard in the beginning. If you wasn't born with a silver spoon in your mouth, it's going to be hard in the beginning. Growth and change makes you uncomfortable before it blesses you. You know, I really want you to get that. Growth or change makes you uncomfortable. Nobody likes change. Just want things to just run smooth. You know, but it makes you uncomfortable before it blesses you or turns into success. Commitment is key. You got to be committed to the process. You know, if you committed to the process, you will find your way through the storm. But you got to be committed. Success is using uncommon practices. You got to be able to do things that the next person ain't willing to do. Uncommon practices gets you uncommon results. You can't do the same thing every day and expect great things to happen. You got to do something different. You got to have a different idea. You got to be about something different. You got to hear from God. You got to ask him for direction. You know, one thing I found is that all my life, all I've been is the underdog. The restaurant business is a business that most people don't think you're going to make it in. So all my life, I've been the underdog. You know, and I got to turn to my instructor because I know she grading me today. You know, but I got to tell her, I was going to tell her a little while ago, but I didn't tell her. All I got is a 10th grade education. But God. I don't use computers. I just started texting. You understand? You know, and my testimony is that, God didn't carry me down that road. I employ probably close to 250 people. But God always put around me what I need. I trust him wholeheartedly. I don't depend on this is it. I depend on Jesus Christ. Because I know that he's the only one that could sustain what I do every day. So again, I'm telling you that because I want you to know that, whatever you decide to do, if you keep him first, if you really keep him first, he'll do things for you that you can't never even imagine doing for yourself. I'm going to tell you this little quick story. I never forget a few years ago, President Obama came to Atlanta. And I had an opportunity to meet him at Tyler Perry's house. And so my wife and my son, they had a chance to meet him down at the Tyler Perry studio. But all of us couldn't be in the same place with the president at the same time. So I met him at Tyler Perry's house. And when I got to Tyler Perry's house, who do you think opened the door for me? Oprah Winfrey. Now here I am, this little high school dropout, get a chance to meet the President of the United States of America, get to Tyler Perry's house, Oprah opened the door for me, grabbed me by my hand, and say, come on in and let me show you the house. And that just blew my mind. We standing in there, it might have been about 10 of us in the house. And Gail was there. And another restaurant guy that I know, hadn't seen him in a few years, but I saw him yesterday. He was there. And I'm sitting around, we sitting around and snacking and talking, and Oprah standing against the wall, maybe over there. I said, hey, Oprah, come here, I want to tell you something. And I had to catch myself, because and lo and behold, she came. And we just talking. And I'm hearing things that I go through that she deal with, but at another level. And I'm saying to myself, I say, Lord, you put me in this environment for a reason. And I never forget when I was leaving that night, the Lord spoke in my spirit. He said, son, I don't want you to never forget that I can do exceedingly abundantly more than you could ever even imagine or think, according to the power that works on the inside of you. And I carried that scripture with me. It just became a part of me. It's Ephesians 3:20. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever it is that you want to accomplish, just know that God could do it better than you could ever even think about doing. Make room for him. In your studying, make room, make space for him. Ask him what he thinks about what you're doing. How do I change my future? Make a plan. Ask God for direction. Be patient and let time do its job. Make a plan and let time do its job. Time is just like you getting up, going to work every day. Time is a job. It does a job if you give it the proper time to do it. Don't nothing happen sustainable overnight. You have to give it time. You got to be patient. Don't make excuses. Don't complain. Making excuses gives you permission to stay where you are. Every time you make an excuse, it's just giving yourself permission to stay where you are. Don't devalue your potential. You are great. You have to tell yourself that. It's okay to talk to yourself, long as you ain't answering yourself. You ain't crazy. You know, the Bible says a man have to encourage himself. You know, so you have to tell yourself that I am great, that I am going to pass this class with flying colors. It don't matter how late I got to stay up, I'm going to make this happen. You know, make little small goals for yourself. And when you reach that goal, celebrate yourself. You know, and it's going to end up being something great one day. It just depends on you and how much you put in it. But never devalue yourself. Take control of your thoughts. Do more than what's required. An exceptional person is one who continues to go the extra mile. You know, an exceptional person. You got to be willing to do more than the next person. Sacrifice is giving up something good to get something better. Again, there's a price to pay for something better. Pay attention to the details. You will find excellence in the details. Success and greatness carries a price that's called pain. It's called pain, P-A-I-N. Success and greatness carries a price. What price are you willing to pay? How much pain can you bear? No pain, no power. The more the pain, the more the success. Preparation. How much time do you put into where you're trying to go? The future belongs to those who prepare for it. Be ready for opportunity when it knocks. Be ready to seize the moment. Because if you're not ready, somebody else is going to pick it up. Your purpose, your natural gifts calls you to your purpose. That which you hunger and thirst after. Passion. Your passion is tied to your purpose. It's not always all about the money. Haters gonna always want your power, but not your pain. Your pain leads to God's glory in your life. But you got to be willing to take some pain. Don't nothing happen without a little pain. Don't nothing happen without going through a little trouble. The Bible also talks about a man born of a woman is but a few days and a lot of trouble. So trouble is going to be a part of your journey. Adversity. Don't always blame somebody because you got to go through something. Just go through it. It ain't going to last always. Trouble is an incubator for success and greatness. Trouble. How you deal with trouble is going to determine what your future is going to be like. You must believe that you can fly like an eagle. You know, eagles fly alone. They don't fly with other birds. Chickens don't fly with eagles. You know, if you want to soar, you got to understand the importance of being alone, of having that me time. where it's just you and God, so you can hear something and get some direction for the future. You know, I am a dreamer. I meditate on the Word of God day and night. I'm constantly thinking about what God wants me to do. You got to write it down. Be faithful because God is faithful. The Bible says promotion comes from the Lord. Be patient until he shows up. God owns favor. You know, all of us like favor. God owns favor. And he can do with it what he wants. I remember when God started ministering to me about owning the dirt. And we have a shopping center, a restaurant in a shopping center on Memorial Drive. And we've been there this year, it'll be 31 years, I think, about 31 years. But back in the day, the guy that owned the shopping center, I used to take care of the center for him, and I would call him when things needed to happen. And I remember him calling me one day. He said, Shelly, you know, if I had my way, I would just give you this shopping center so you could see life from a different perspective. You know, and I said, boy, oh boy, wouldn't that be something? How can this man tell me, say he would give me a property that's worth over $2 million? Just give it to me. And then I started thinking about the Lord a little bit. I said, well, the Lord, he owns it. And if he want me to have it, he'll work it out for me to have it. Because I didn't have no money to buy it. But I'm telling you that so you can understand that God could touch one person's heart on your behalf and change your life forever. Just one person. Because that happened to me. I ain't telling you what somebody told me. I'm telling you what my life is. That's what I live every day. I ended up taking possession of that shopping center without no money. But God can do that. So, and I want you to know, if you don't know him in a real way, if you don't have a personal relationship with him, you are living beneath your privileges. You can go to school and get as much education as you can get. And believe me, I believe in education. Go to school and get to be as smart as you can so you can try to climb the ladder. But if you don't take God with you, you living beneath your privileges. Because I am a living witness that he can do things for you that you never even imagined. But you got to know him like that. Also remember that it's life and death in what you say. You got to stay positive. You got to speak positive things. Whatever lives in your mouth lives in your future. So say the right thing. I don't care how hard it is. Speak good things, speak positive things. And watch it happen. Watch it start to happen as time go on. You don't want to be, complaining and wondering all the time, and you end up in the wilderness. There's a story in the Bible about how they were in the wilderness, I think the children of Israel, for like 40 years for murmuring and complaining. Be careful of who you hang out with. God is watching and he's listening. They might cause your blessing to be delayed. Humility. It's important to stay humble. Humility is knowing what you don't know until God shows you. Humility is a gift from God. Humility creates an atmosphere for growth. You know, when you humble, things will happen for you that wouldn't ordinarily happen. Leadership. True leadership is about leading yourself in a way that inspires others to follow. It ain't all about you. You know, you want somebody to be able to follow what you have done, what you have talked about. You want your family, you want your children to be able to follow. True leaders are called to serve others. The Bible says the greatest people that's among you are those that serve. So keep a spirit of servanthood. You know, it'll carry you a long way. You got to make a sacrifice to the Lord that costs you something. You know, it's something about making a sacrifice. My sacrifice to the Lord was closing on Sundays. That was my sacrifice. You know, we all have to have our own sacrifice that we make to the Lord. You know, and a sacrifice is something that hurts, that you can feel it. I ain't talking about giving an offering, a dollar here and a dollar there. I'm talking about a sacrifice. Some people trust in the numbers, but you got to trust in God. You got to carry business the right way. You got to be ethical. You got to have morals. The greater the sacrifice, the greater the blessings. So it's always good to keep a sacrifice, or have a sacrifice. Learn how to do what you see better than anybody else. That's going to cost you to go the extra mile. Learn how to do your vision, what you see, better than anybody else. Every dream and every vision takes education and knowledge. Ask God for direction to go before you. You know, let him go before you. Make a personal vow, a commitment. Again, that commitment is so important. Motivate yourself. You got to stay motivated. You got to work hard. You got to stay motivated. You got to do it right now. Don't delay. You know, because it's something you can be working on. Faith that is not tested cannot be trusted. So just know that your faith is going to be tested on your journey. But you got to prove that it can be trusted. You know, again, I just want you to know that, you know that God has a plan for your life, and it's bigger than anything that you could ever even imagine. But you got to stay the course. Don't give up. Stick with it. You know, and I want I want somebody in this room to know that you are going to soar to the next level. You are going to be great one day. When I'm in my rocking chair, I want to pick up one of your books and read it. And say, oh, I knew them. God is waiting on you. Again, my name is Shelly Butch Anthony III, and thank you for your attendance today. And, my prayers that God will bless you in a special way.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. I hope you can take a couple of questions if they have.
Oh, yeah.
So this is your opportunity. As you've heard, he has had tremendous experience and a tremendous journey. So if you have questions, please, we can take a few questions before he'll have to leave. So there you go.
I just want to know if you're taking an intern.
Yes, we do. We do.
I'll go up on Thursday.
All right. Well, let me give you the information.
There you go.
There's a lot of small companies that don't step out to have multiple locations. A lot of times they, the food is good, but they only just stay in that one space, and they never grow. But what made you decide to venture out to have multiple locations and even decide to even franchise your name?
Well, all my life I've been a risk taker. And that's what an entrepreneur is a risk taker. You can be in business and, you can be, somewhat of an entrepreneur, but if you're not willing to take risk, you're going to always be in that little shoebox. You got to believe God at another level because he's bigger.
Did you have mentors and, surround yourself with the right kind of people that gave you, teach you with the right kind of information on what to do?
I really didn't have any mentors. My biggest, that's why I say your family is so important. My biggest mentor, cheerleader, coach is my wife.
Yes, sir.
Usually took me back, Lakewood Village, the rapper shop. Alabama used to chase me through the store with his meat cleaver.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he took me that message, just chasing me around with my mom. We go shopping. So I'm from the area, so yeah, he took me back.
Oh, boy.
No question. You kind of did an excellent job just filling in for me today, and I appreciate it.
I just want you to know that Mr. Anthony has his book in the back. For those of you who would like to take a look at it, please feel free to do so. I read a few reviews about it before I came, and I'll read a couple of them. One said, tribute to African American entrepreneurial spirit. Another, awesome and encouraging outlook on life. So it's not just about business, as you have heard his talk. It's about faith. It's about doing the right thing. It is about hope that you can achieve a lot greater than you can ever dream that you can achieve. And so, again, I have one more question. I think somebody had a question.
Just real quick, for those that are actually interested in, starting their own business, being an entrepreneur, can you suggest possibly as far as places that we can go to get mentorship or leadership, or just get better educated? about maybe that direction?
You know, I think today you have to do a little bit of research on your own, you know, about the business that you desire to be in. You know, really look at it, because it's, you know, I tell people about the restaurant business. Today, it's very difficult to open up a restaurant and try to build a name, to try to build a brand, unless you just got deep pockets and you can market the business continuously. Because I think, you know, I heard, you know, in a class or somewhere that when you open up a business, the community around you most of the time takes about 15 years to know that you there. You know, so that, you know, to me, that just spoke volume. And then I could understand why people would come in to our restaurant, you know, on Memorial, the one that's on Memorial Drive, the oldest location, and say, I didn't know y'all was here. You know, and it's because of, you know, I guess it's just the way that it is, you know, in communities, you know, it might be, you know, the word might get around a little bit quicker if somebody pick you up through social media or whatever, you know, but I mean, I really think you have to research and really understand the business that you're in. And I think franchising is good because it gives you that mentorship. It gives you somebody to call when you're having whatever's going on, and ask, you know, a corporate office as to how to handle this or how to handle the other. You know, at least to get your feet wet. You know, so, you know, you got to be prepared to spend a lot of hours. You know, I mean, you know, a lot of hours trying to build it up and get it off of the ground. You know, I mean, I can remember plainly sticking the key in the door in the morning, and 10, 11 o'clock at night when it closed, I'd be the one to stick the key in there again. You know, so it takes all of that.
I also want to just say I appreciate your service. I actually grew up in the Stone Mountain in the 80s and 90s. Memorial Drive and Company Highway, your location right there.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah, now, you know, I wasn't to chase me around the store with meat cleaver. But you know that sound? Yeah, I knew about that sound.
Oh boy, ain't that something?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for your service.
All right, well, thank you for supporting.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Anthony. If you would come up, we would like to give you something that we hope you would keep in your office.
All right.
It says Shelly Anthony III from the College of Business at Clayton State University. So we thank you for being the Dean's Distinguished Speaker.
All right.